Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome, dear learners. You are watching a video for the subject of education, for the course of Bachelor's in Education, and for the paper of Conceptual Foundations of Education. We will be discussing on the module of Philosophical Basis of Education, and in this lecture, we are going to study the School of Philosophy and its educational implications, where Idealism School of Philosophy will be discussed today. This video has been recorded by Dr. Iram Khan. The course coordinator and the subject matter expert of this video is Dr. Iram Khan from Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. The academic expert or the reviewer for this video is Professor Jasim Ahmed from Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. This video is produced under the project DTH Swayamprabha channels of MHRD, New Delhi. Hello dear students, I am Dr. Iram Khan, Assistant Professor at IESE Faculty of Education, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. And today we are going to start the topic on study of the School of Philosophy and its educational implications. And here the School of Philosophy which we are going to discuss is idealism. And this lecture comes under the edges of the topic philosophical basis of education. So first of all, let us see the objectives of this lecture. The first objective is based on to discuss the meaning of idealism school of philosophy, where we are going to see that what exactly this school of philosophy, which is named as idealism, is all about. Then the second objective will be to explain the various aspects of idealism school of philosophy which are related to education, because we need to see that what exactly is the relationship of idealism with education. And for seeing all these things, we will be checking out all the aspects like the curriculum, then the aims of the education, then role of the teacher, and different other things. So to begin with, what exactly idealism is all about, we can say that idealism is the oldest system of philosophy which is actually known to all of us. Its origin goes back to ancient India in the East, if we talk about the East, and if we talk about the West, the person who was at that particular time the first person to talk about idealism was Plato. So generally, idealists believe that the ideas are the true reality, and it is a philosophical approach which is a central tenet that the ideas are the only true reality, the only thing worth knowing. So, in a search for truth, then beauty and justice that is enduring and everlasting. The focus is on the conscious reasoning in the mind. And Plato, who is at times we consider him as the father of idealism, he kept this view in about 400 BC. It's very this entire concept was given in 400 BC, so it's too way back. So in his famous book, which is named as The Republic, he has given this concept. Plato believed that there are two worlds. The first is the spiritual or mental world, which is eternal, permanent, orderly, regular, and universal. So there is also the world of appearance, the world experienced through sight, touch, smell, taste, and sound, that is changing, that is imperfect and disorderly. So he was talking about these two worlds, the one which is eternal and the other one which is something which can be experienced by the sense organs, where he is mentioning about the five sense organs. So this world can be sensed or can be experienced by our sense organs. So this division is often referred to as the duality of mind and body. In Plato's allegory of the cave, the shadows of the sensory world must be overcome with the light of reason or universal truth. To understand truth, one must pursue knowledge and identify with the absolute mind. So Plato, he was a staunch believer of ideological thoughts and idealism. So Plato also believed that the soul is fully formed prior to birth and is perfect. So, according to him, soul is not having any kind of imperfection. So, the birth process checks this perfection. So, according to him, once the soul is actually taken birth in a human form, then the imperfection starts to happen. So, education requires bringing latent ideas uh, into into consciousness, and what exactly this means, that to bring latent ideas into consciousness, that we want to make these latent ideas transformed into fully formed concepts. So this is something which is a thought given by Plato, and we have to see that lots of other people, other philosophers were also believing the thoughts of Plato, and they have taken out many things of idealism, and they have created their own philosophy. Then if we go ahead and see this the etymological meaning of idealism, the word idealism has been derived from ideal, and Plato conceived of ideas as the basis of his philosophy, which was idealism. We have already discussed. So, idealism is a philosophical position which adheres to the view that nothing exists except an idea in the mind of a man or a human being. So, idea or ideas are of ultimate cosmic significance. Idealism idolizes mind and self. So, an idealist shifts the emphasis from the natural or scientific facts of life to the spiritual aspects of human experiences. And you must remember, every time that whenever we talk about idealism, idealism actually is very much uh, in consonance with spiritualism. So, in its philosophical meaning, idealism seeks to offer an explanation of the man and the universe in terms of spirit or mind. Idealism is, in fact, spiritualism. So, human beings' spiritual nature is considered to be the very essence of his or her beginning, or his or her being. So it asserts that reality is to be spirit, or the reality is to be very much found in human beings' mind rather than in material nature. So according to idealists, the human spirit is the most important element in life. All of reality is reducible to one fundamental substance, which is spirit here, which is considered as the most important. So spirit is considered as the most important aspect whenever we are talking about the school of idealism. So the universe is viewed as essentially non-material in its ultimate nature. Matter is not real, rather it is a notion, an abstraction of the mind. So it is only the mind that is real. So therefore, all material things that seem to be real are reducible to mind or spirit. So these are the facts which are related to idealism. And whenever we are talking about the meaning of idealism, we have to keep in mind all these factual details, because they make the premise for giving meaning to idealism. Now we have to talk about the values of idealism. For idealists, all knowledge is independent of sense experience. Sense experience means those experiences which can be done or which can be achieved through the use of sense organs. So the act of knowing takes place within the mind. The mind is active and contains innate capabilities for organizing and synthesizing the data derived through sensations. So they advocate the use of intuition for knowing the ultimate, and human being can know intuitively that we can say that this human being can apprehend immediately some truth without utilizing any of his or her senses. So man can also know truth through the acts of reason, by which an individual examines the logical consistency of the ideas. So idealists like Plato believed that the spirit of man or the human beings is eternal. It can't be destroyed. So whatever he knows is already contained within his spirit, the man's spirit. So it is something which is very much said by all these idealists, that only manifestations take place. Everything is already inside the human being or with the human spirit, and whatever we experience, whatever we go ahead and do in our lives is just the manifestation which is already there in our innate beings or our spirit. So in this way we can say that the idealist axiology or the value theory, it gives a lot of value uh, to, and more than mere human preferences, they give very much value to the to whatever is already there inside the human being, which is the spirit. So they really exist and are inherent intrinsically in the structure of the universe. So they believe that everybody is having the spirit, which is having everything inside it, and it gets out as and when the person experiences holds experiences in the external world through the use of the sense organs. So value experiences is essentially an imitation of the good, which is present in the absolute universal realm of ideas. So here again the ideas are very much they have given, the idealists have given a lot of importance to the ideas. Basically the entire philosophy of idealism is based on the ideas. So according to them, values are eternal. They believe, the idealists believe in three spiritual values. And what are these? The truth, the beauty, and the goodness. And if we talk about these three terms, which is truth, beauty, and goodness, Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram, which is something which has come out of these three beautiful words. So the truth is an intellectual value. So truth, beauty, and goodness is basically the value, the entire crux of the value system of idealism. So the beauty is here considered as the aesthetic value. Truth is the intellectual value. Beauty is aesthetic value, and the good is basically, or the goodness is basically the moral value. So in this way, Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram, or truth, beauty, and goodness completes a human being according to the idealist school of philosophy. The next point which we want to discuss here is purpose of education in idealism. What exactly is the purpose? Because as we have seen already that according to the idealist school of philosophy, everything is already inside the human spirit. So why we have to actually go ahead and get ourselves educated? So basically the purpose of education according to idealism is the development of the mind and self of the student or the person who is here to be educated. So the idealists like to educate the child for mainly two reasons. The first reason is education is a spiritual necessity, and the second reason is that education is also a social necessity. So these are the two reasons why idealist school is willing to teach the child or educate the child. First one, education is a spiritual necessity, and the other one, the second one, is education is also a social necessity. So these are the two reasons. So the school should emphasize intellectual activities, moral judgment, then aesthetic judgment, self-realization, individual responsibility, individual freedom, and self-control, because this school is believing in the manifestation of the self. So self control or self discipline is very much important here. So self control in order to achieve the person's or the individual's development. So the teacher should be a moral and cultural exemplar or model of values that represent the highest and best expression of personal and human development. So basically the humane development. Why humane development? Because this teacher is taken here in this school of thought as the model, and this teacher is to be imitated. All the activities done by the teacher have been taken as the model by the students, and the students try to imitate or become like the teacher. So this school of philosophy is very much inclined towards the creation uh, or the being of a model or exemplar teacher who can create a very kind of best expression of personal and humane development. So now let us see the chief assertions of idealism. The first assertion is spirit and mind constitute reality. What exactly is this mean? So it means that idealism believes that the spiritual nature of man is the essence of his or her being. The mental or spiritual part is more real and important than the material part. So this is the first assertion, which is spirit and mind constitute reality. The second assertion is that humans or man being spiritual is a supreme creation. Man is considered as the best creation of God. This is something which is very much clearly mentioned in this school of philosophy. So the second assertion says that man being spiritual is a supreme creation. So according to idealism, the supreme aim of life is the exhalation of human personality, to develop the personality, to manifest the personality. So man is a spiritual being and is distinguishes it basically distinguishes him from other animals. So according to this school of philosophy, human being is better than other animals. He or she is the best creation which is alive. So reality is found in the mind of man and in the external world. So this is the second assertion. Let us see the third assertion, which is the assertion of universal mind. What is this? Idealism believes in universal mind. The little mind is a part of it. The goal of human life is to realize the universal mind. So basically, they talk about the the small or the narrow and the wider sense, where mind actually has all uh, the the things which are already there. According to them, the spirit is having all those knowledge, all those things inside, and it manifests, and that the mind, which is very much related to the external world, is actually having the perceptions done through the sense organs. So this is something which is considered as the third assertion, that is universal mind. The fourth assertion is faith in spiritual values. This word values is given very much importance in idealism. So values are absolute and unchanging. The prime aim of human life is to achieve spiritual values. These are truth, beauty, and goodness. We have already talked about the three main pillars of idealism: truth, beauty, and goodness, Satyam, Shivam, and Sundaram. So, in the pursuit of these values, human being rises higher and higher in the moral plane till this individual attains divinity. So, this is something we can say that the human being strives for divinity throughout the life. So divinity is something which is the which is considered as the most precious and uh, receivable in this school of philosophy. Then the fifth assertion, which is that real knowledge is perceived in mind. So God is the source of all knowledge. Knowledge acquired through the activity, creativity, and exercise of mind is important than the knowledge acquired through senses. So here we again can see that the ideas which are innate, or we can say which God has given to any spirit of a human being or an individual, are considered to be much more important. So much important is given to the spirit and the spiritual knowledge than the physical world and whatever is perceivable through the sense organs. So this is the fifth assertion, or the real knowledge is perceived in mind. So these were the chief assertions of idealism. Let us see the aims of education and idealism. So basically the aims of education with respect to the idealism school of philosophy. So the first aim can be considered as the that this entire philosophy revolves around self-realization or exhalation of human personality. So here the first aim is the self-realization or exhalation of human personality. According to idealism, human being is the most beautiful and perfect creation of God, and it lays stress on the exhalation of human personality, which is self-realization. So the aim of education is to keep developing the self of an individual till the self-realization is achieved. So according to this school of philosophy, self-realization is the apex uh, place where a person has to actually come or to actually achieve the self-realization, the is the utmost aim of education for the school of philosophy. Then the second aim is the universal education, the aim of universal education. So education should be universal in nature, and education should be based on the teaching of universal truth from the standpoint of rationality of the universe. So this is the second aim. The third aim is to make actually the spiritual side of human being very much developed. So this this philosophy is very much uh, in consonance with spiritualism. So we can say that spiritual development is the next aim. So third aim is spiritual development. So idealists give greater importance to spiritual values in comparison with the material attainments. So if we talk about few of those philosophers who belong to this school of philosophy, we can quote few of them. So I'm giving one example of Rusk. So according to Rusk, education must enable humankind or mankind through its cultural or through its culture to enter more and more fully into the spiritual realm, and also enlarge the boundaries of spiritual realm. So this is a statement given by Rusk. He says that education must enable mankind through its culture to enter more and more fully into the spiritual realm, and also enlarge the boundaries of spiritual realm. So he is very clearly mentioning that the spiritual realm, or the constrictions of a spiritual realm, is the entire purpose of education of a human being. And the spiritual realm should also be enlarged. The boundaries of the premises, or you can say the spirituality, should also be enlarged as soon as the human being is growing up. So this spirituality should also grow. So this we can say that this third aim, which is spiritual development, is very much the essence of idealism. Then let us see the fourth aim, which is transmission and promotion of cultural heritage. What exactly it says? Education must contribute to the development of culture, enlarging the boundaries of spiritual realm. We have already seen that Even Rusk has mentioned this. So the child has to be introduced to his cultural heritage so as this child can be enabled to conserve, to promote, and to transit it, basically the culture, to the rising generation. So if the father or mother or the parents will be very much familiar with the culture, and will be motivated towards giving the transfer or the transfer of thoughts, or you can say to teach about their culture to their offsprings. This particular process of transmission and promotion of cultural heritage can be done very easily. So this school of philosophy is a staunch believer of the cultural heritage and the transmission and the you can say the promotion of cultural heritage from generations to generations. Then the next aim is to make cultivation of moral values. So according to idealism, human being is a moral being. So the process of education must lead to the deepest spiritual insight and to the highest moral and spiritual conduct. So development, basically, this cultivation of moral values is basically it should be developed, and development of the moral values and the deepest spiritual insight, which is considered as the highest moral and spiritual conduct, has to be developed very properly in the case of the idealistic school of philosophy. Then the the next aim, which is the sixth aim, is development of intelligence and rationality. What exactly it says? It says that there are set principles working in this creation. An idealist always tries to discover and understand these principles so that on the basis of moral elements, the world remains organized. So they want to make a proper organization of everything in the world through the moral elements. So everybody should become responsible. They want to say that if every citizen, if every individual will become responsible, and they will start uh, entertaining the values of morality, and will see that how others should not be affected by their any action, the world will be organized, will become organized. So they basically feel that development of intelligence and rationality is very much important if we want to create an organized world. So in this way we can say that education is to develop the intelligence and rationality of the child, is uh, is one of the aims of idealist school of philosophy, which is very much clearly mentioned whenever we talk about the idealism school of philosophy. So we can say that the idealists believe that education must help in the full evolution of mind, the emancipation of spirit, then self-realization, and the realization of higher values of life, uh, which can train a person uh, to get evolved into a greater personality. It also can be quoted as the whole man completely and fully for manhood and not some part of man. So basically, the entire uh, transformation of a human personality into a good being is the motto of the education when we talk about uh, like aims of education in the in this thought process, which is very much inclined towards idealism. Now we have to talk about the idealism and the curriculum. We know that how we can define the curriculum. Curriculum is said to be the sum total of all the activities which are done or which are undertaken under the premises of the school or the institution. Maybe few of the activities which are planned in the curriculum can also be taken even after the beyond the premises of the educational institution. So while developing the curriculum, idealists give more importance to thoughts, feelings, ideas, or ideals and values than to the child and all those activities which this child is willing to do. So they hold that curriculum should be concerned with the whole humanity and experiences. So great importance is given to humanities, culture, art, history, philosophy, literature, and religion. So basically, why? Because the ethos of idealism is very much uh, closely related to spiritualism. That's why great importance is given to humanities. Then the culture, art, history, philosophy, literature, and religion. So idealism emphasizes the spiritual side of man. So for the idealists, curriculum is based upon the idea or assumption of the spiritual nature of man. They are of the view that the curriculum is a body of intellectual or learned disciplines that are basically ideational or conceptual. They arrange their curriculum in the form of a hierarchy in which the general discipline occupies the topmost position, and gradually if we go ahead and see this hierarchy, you can find that that it comes gradually down to particular subjects in their relationship to general discipline. So if we talk about the suggestion regarding the curriculum given by Plato, Plato has conceived the curriculum from the point of ideas. He believes that the highest idea of life is the attainment of the highest good, and you can say that the highest good is God. So the curriculum ought to impart inherent values in order to enable the students to attain the highest good. So we can say that the spiritual values, according to him, we have already seen are truth, beauty, and goodness. So these three values, which determine the three types of activities, which can be intellectual, aesthetic, and moral. So each type of activity is represented by different subjects, different specific subjects, and should form a part of the curriculum. So intellectual activities are represented by subjects, like these subjects can be language, literature, science, mathematics, history, and geography. And if we talk about the aesthetic activities, these aesthetic activities will be possible through the study of art and poetry. And if we talk about the moral activities, we can perform the moral activities through the study of religion, ethics, and metaphysics. So this is something which is quoted by or considered by Plato when he was talking about curriculum, and because he belongs to the idealist school of philosophy, so we can say that idealism is having all these things very much in consideration when this philosophy is actually the dominating part of the administration who is preparing the curriculum. So if we talk about few of the more people who are considered to be idealists, so we have to take the name of Ross, and Ross talks of two types of activities. As we have seen that Plato has talked about three types of activities. Ross talks about two types of activities, and these are the physical activities and spiritual activities. Uh, to be and these activities are to be included in his idealistic curriculum, the idealistic curriculum, which actually is very much influenced by the philosophy of Ross. So he says that physical activities include subjects such as health and hygiene, which foster the bodily skills. For example, gymnastics and athletics that lead to good health and fitness. And he also makes the pursuit of spiritual values possible. So spiritual pursuits imply the philosophical basis of education, which can be considered the intellectual, aesthetic, moral, and religious studies. So in this way, we can see that such subjects it can be exemplified that the subjects like history, geography, language, fine arts, moral science, ethics, religion, then science, mathematics, and others should be included in the curriculum. So this is something which is considered important by Ross when he talked about the curriculum. So when we talk about the curriculum, we have to see that what exactly is the idea of some of the eminent Indian philosophers. And if we take the name of Shri Aurobindo, who is the staunch believer of idealist school of philosophy, we will be very correct to quote him. So Shri Aurobindo also in his integral philosophy of education given importance to moral, religious, and physical education. So, by moral education, he means the training of moral faculty, which is the ability to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. Then, the another important thing in moral education is the value of suggestion. The suggestion by the teacher has to be exercised by personal example, daily talks, and swa adhyay, that is reading good books. So basically, he says that if the teacher is willing to get all these good things done by the students, first of all, he or she himself has to do all those things. He or she expects to be done by the students. So narration of the deeds of great human beings in interesting style always carries much impression about the young minds. So stories about the great men or the men of great moral endeavors has to be told to the students so that they can get impressed and they can imitate the values which are actually followed by these great men. So in addition, Aurobindo advocates that religious education should also be imparted not only through religious books or religious sermons, but by the practice of religious life and spiritual self-training. So religion has been given a very important emphasis by Sri Aurobindo. Theoretical teaching of religion must be complemented with actual practice. Along with moral and religious education, he has given importance to physical education. With regard to physical education, he says that if our seeking is for a total perfection of the being, the physical part of it cannot be left aside. So, for the body is the material basis, the body is the instrument which we have to use. So basically, the whole idea says that healthy mind stays inside a healthy body. So he says that if we keep our body healthy, then our mind itself will become healthy, and good ideas and good thoughts will come inside us very easily if our body is healthy. So this is something which is mentioned by Shri Aurobindo. The next idealist whom I considered very important in education is Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. Uh, he actually wants to make moral education a compulsory part of education at primary and secondary levels. And we know that how important Dr. Radhakrishnan is, how important place he is having in our education system. So without making the moral education a compulsory part of education at primary and secondary level, he considers that the educational institutions cannot fulfill their objectives of educating the youth of the country. So, according to him, moral education is very much necessary. So, uh, he also talks about the greatness of a country cannot be measured by its physical civilization, but by its moral and spiritual advancements. So you can see that these statements are giving so much emphasis on the development of the moral self and the spiritual advancements. So he is very much inclined towards developing the moral and the spiritual values of the human being. He also supports religious education. But religious education for him is not the instruction of a particular religion. It is a means for developing spiritual intuition because the aim of religion is spiritual and not merely a change in metaphysical ideas. So we have to take this point very much in our mind, that if we are going to follow the philosophy of Radha Krishnan, he says that we have to give religious education, but this religious education should not be aimed merely to change the metaphysical ideas, but the aim of religion is spiritual and not merely a change in metaphysical ideas. So he also suggested that inclusion of physical education in the curriculum should be there. So if we just quote his words, he says that the body is the means of the expression of the human soul. Physical education, therefore, must be properly given. Again, he is also believing in keeping our body healthy, and according to his belief, also healthy mind resides inside a healthy body. So these are the thoughts of Dr. Radhakrishnan. Now let us talk about the methods of teaching. Methods of teaching in the this idealist school of philosophy. So idealism has not prescribed any specific method of teaching. This is something which is very important. According to this school, according to idealism, the classroom is a temple of spiritual learning. A meeting place of human minds is a place for self-education. So you can see that here the self-development, self-education, all these terms are very much emphasized. For this process of education, according to this school, no particular method has been suggested. However, we can mention the few of the methods which are advocated by different idealists of time. So, but this school, it never gives a particular method as the point of assertion that this can be the ideal method for teaching. But we have to just go ahead and see what exactly the other eminent people who follow the idealist school of philosophy, what type of teaching methods they advocated. So if we go through the literature, we have seen that there are few of those methods like learning through reading, learning through lecturing, learning through discussion, learning through imitation, learning through questioning, and learning from simple to complex. So these are a few of those important methods which are considered by different idealists. And if we talk about few more idealists like Herbert, he advocated instruction method. Uh, and if we talk about Froebel, Froebel insisted upon the playway method, and then there is a Socrates method and the discussion method from where we have found the basis of idealism. So the Socrates method can be also considered as the discussion method, is also one of the very important methods which this school of philosophy, the idealism, believes on. Role of teacher is very important in this school of philosophy, which is idealism. So according to them, the education according to the idealist pattern is ideal centered, and the it is not basically a child centered or subject centered uh, uh, pattern. So idealist pattern of education grants the highest place to the educator or the teacher. So idealists have given expectations, they have given a lot of importance to the teacher, so there are very much high expectations from the teachers. So to them, the teacher must be ideal in order to serve as an example for the student, both intellectually and morally. So teacher has to set an example. They believe that the teacher is an important ingredient in the education of the child. So the teacher should not only understand the stages of learning, but also maintain the constant concern about the ultimate purpose of learning. some idealists emphasize the importance of emulation in learning, for which they feel the teacher should be the kind of person we want our children to become. So what they say, that this teacher should be exactly a person who can be imitated or emulated by the students. Then we can see that how important role they have given, the idealists have given to the teacher. Socrates have been used by uh, idealists not only as prototype of learning, but also as a model for emulation, because Socrates holds a very important place in this school of philosophy. So we can say at most of the times, even there is the Socratic method of teaching, which is very much used by the idealists. So in this connection, Dr. Radhakrishnan has given his opinion in a way like he says that the type of education which we may give to our youth depends on the fact that what type of teachers we get. So he has given the entire responsibility of students' learning, students' education, their personalities on the shoulders of a good teacher. So according to him, the teachers have a special place in the formation of the mind and heart of the youth. So besides this, the knowledge and scholarship, the teacher should have devotion to teaching. Then only the teacher will make a kind of mark in front, or can set an example in front of his or her students. According to this philosophy, it is the teacher who has to provide the right environment in the school. This teacher must be himself or herself an ideal person in order to exercise the wholesome influence on the young ones. So it is the teacher's forceful personality, his or her effective methods, then the sense of dedication to the work which encourage the child to perceive him or her as exemplary. So the teacher must also exercise great creative skill in providing opportunities for the students. Uh, the minds of the students to discover, to analyze, unify, to synthesize, and create applications of knowledge to life and behavior. So, this teacher should respect the learner and assist the learner to realize the fullness of his or her own personality. To the idealist, the school is a garden, the educand is a tender plant, and the educator, the careful gardener. So, in the words of Ross, we can just quote, the educator constitutes the special environmental factor whose function is to lead the child nearer to reality, to guide him towards his utmost possible perfection. So, in this way, Ross has also given a lot of importance to the teacher, who is the most important person to rear, to educate, to actually develop the personality of the child. According to Donald Butler, he has identified some of the desired qualities of the good teacher. He says that the teacher should personify culture and reality for the student. The teacher should be a specialist in the knowledge of the pupils. The teacher should be a kind of person who commands the respect of the pupil by virtue of what he himself is. The teacher should be a personal friend of the individual student. The teacher should be awaken students, should awaken the students' desires to learn. The teacher should be a master of art of living. He or she should be one who capably communicates the subject. The teacher should appreciate the subject he teaches and aid in the cultural rebirth of generations. So these are the few points which are emphasized by Donald Butler when he identifies some of the desired qualities of the good teacher. And we can see here that there are a lot of expectations from the teacher. According to these philosophers, this school of philosophy, there is a very huge responsibility given to the teacher. The entire life and personality of the child or the individual is in the hands of the teacher. So teacher is somebody who is given a lot of importance in the idealist importance, as well as there is a responsibility which is given to the teacher. So he or she himself or herself have to be uh, the ideal self, then only the expectation of the ideal realization or the self realization by the pupils or the students can be expected. So this was something which is related to the role of teacher, which is given in this school of philosophy, which is idealism. Idealism and discipline. So let us see that what exactly is the importance of discipline and how discipline is taken by the school of philosophy. Idealist attaches importance to impressionistic discipline in comparison with repressionistic discipline. They assert that the teacher should first gain respect from the child by the affectionate and sympathetic behavior, and then motivate the child to learn by the praiseworthy ideas of this teacher, so that the child's basic instincts are sublimated. Uh, he has to maintain such environment so as to control the undesirable activities and develop desirable qualities of head and heart in such a way that that the student begins to exercise and maintain self discipline. So here we can see that imposed discipline is not advocated, but they are talking about self discipline. So the student should realize that this self-discipline is for his or her own good and development. So according to Gentile, discipline should be considered as an end product instead of an input, and at the same time is a part of the teaching process and should be in the personality of the teacher. So we can say that a person should achieve discipline through freedom, and it should not be like imposed by outside. So this discipline can be achieved by getting the freedom. We are free yet we are disciplined. So we can say that in today's environment education has bypassed this component by beginning with discipline and moving towards freedom. So this is something which is of great value and importance. We have to see that how we can enshrine the self-discipline in our students. So idealists do not favor rigid discipline. In fact, this theory of discipline is based on the concept of freedom. So freedom does not mean that everything will be hayway or waywardness will be there. It implies responsibility. It should be regulated, guided, and restrained towards freedom. In the words of Gandhiji, or once we talk about Gandhiji, he is also considered as the believer of idealism. So Gandhiji believed that real freedom comes through self-discipline, and this self-discipline arise or it arises spontaneously from the inner spring of life rather than that which is imposed from outside. So Gandhiji's concept of discipline is a synthesis of both freedom and external control. So idealists believe that human behavior should have internal control rather than external control. So for the idealists, authority begins by being external, but it should end in becoming internal through the habit formation and self-control. So we can say that the self-control, the self-discipline, or the nature of the individual where he becomes self-disciplined is very much endorsed by this school of philosophy, which is idealism. So with this, we have seen lots of things related to idealism. We just have to make a quick recap, summary. So idealism has made a significant contribution to educational thought. It has given a higher place to mental and spiritual world than to physical world. It stresses religious education for character training. Idealistic philosophy provides clear and direct guidelines for the aims of education, which we have already seen, and it also provides guidelines for the curricula, teachers' role, and methods of teaching. Idealism as a philosophy of education emphasizes the exhalation of personality, which is the result of self-realization achieved by spiritual knowledge, self-discipline, and guidance of the dignified teacher. And we have seen that how much importance is given to the role of teacher, to the personality of teacher in idealism. So in idealism, the aim of education is to discover and develop each individual's abilities and full moral excellence in order to better serve the society. So the curricular emphasis is the subject matter of mind. So here the literature, history, philosophy, and religion are those subjects which are much more important in this school of philosophy. So teaching methods focus on handling ideas through lecture, discussion, and Socratic dialogue, which can be considered as a method of teaching that uses questioning to help students discover and clarify knowledge. Introspection, intuition, insight, and whole and part logic are used to bring to consciousness the form or concepts which are latent in the mind. Character is developed through imitating examples and heroes, and here they consider teachers as the heroes, and maybe somebody who is given a very important place in the past, and they have played a lot of important roles in the past. They can also be considered as heroes and can be emulated. So it emphasizes human beings' perfection in various facets of life through physical, intellectual, moral, aesthetic, and social aspects. So these are those things which we have studied about idealism, and I hope that this study of different philosophies are going to help you a lot for making your own philosophy, because it's very much important to have a philosophy of life. Without it you will be not having a kind of uh, point of view to which you want to lead your life. So it is very much important to study these philosophies. These are few of the references and suggested links which can be which can be referred for by everybody to go ahead and learn more about idealism. Uh, with all these words, I would like to thank you all to have a patient listening, and I'll see you again in another lecture. Thank you so much. You were watching a video on the major topic of philosophical basis of education, and in this lecture we have seen the study of School of Philosophy and its educational implications, under which we have studied the Idealism School of Philosophy. This video lecture was recorded by faculty at home during the national lockdown period for COVID-19 pandemic using minimal technical resources. Technical errors, if any, are unintentional and may please be ignored. For any queries with regard to this lecture or broadcast, kindly send your email to techsupport@dth.ac.in. Thank you so much.